Loyal Family Renovations, Menards, Network Health, Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin, Saturn Lounge.
Unloads, long ball, got it. Rinse and repeat from beyond the arc.
Smart 18, Toyota, and Woodman's. You've been listening to Bucks Basketball on the home of the Bucks, WTMJ.
The new fractured boulders we now have in stock are really nice. They're squarer and more rectangular in shape, and they're great for building dry-laid retaining walls. They're much easier to deal with, lock together nicely, and you get less gaps. No wet mortar needed. And we've stocked a multitude of colors. You can use them as an accent item to add character to your dry river or creek beds, too. Erickson's Landscape Supply. High-quality mulch and stone for a whole lot less. Commercial or residential. Visit ericksonslandscapesupply.com to see our entire selection. Our organic mulch is comprised of all trees. Most mulch is made from ground-up pallets, and you don't know what might have been spilled on those pallets. Could be chemicals or who knows what. But not our mulch, we're recycling trees. Many species of hardwoods. Cedar, hemlock, light brown, dark brown, mocha, black, red, gold, and caramel. 7 colors to choose from means a mulch to match any exterior. Erickson's Landscape Supply. High-quality mulch and stone for a whole lot less. Commercial or residential. Visit ericksonslandscapesupply.com to see our entire selection.
It was 1957 when the legend of the great pizza found at Marty's Pizza began. In 1982, we took the show on the road and opened up in Delafield, where we're still alive and kicking. In fact, stronger than ever. And I think it's because good people know a great value, and they definitely know great pizza. Still made today with all the recipes Marty himself created. Hey, when you want what we think is the best pizza around and one of the best values in town, remember Marty's Pizza, right off of I-94 and Highway 83 in Delafield.
Marty's Pizza. Do you remember when times were good? Well, they're good again. It's as good today as it was in the past. It doesn't get any better than that. Remember Marty's Pizza.
Get the help you need Saturday morning with How To Radio. At 7, it's the WTMJ Fix-It Show with David Nason, featuring this week's guest, Gadish Foundation. At 9, plan your dream vacation with the Fox World Travel Show. Yet at 10, get financial guidance during Money Talk. Contact Annex Wealth Management for an unbiased review of your investments at annexwealth.com. How To Radio, Saturday mornings on WTMJ.
Heart disease won't stop us. Diabetes, allergies, cancer. Nothing will keep the Freighter and the Medical College of Wisconsin Health Network from pushing Wisconsin ahead. We're constantly raising the bar for medical excellence and providing more ways to receive it, so you have it for all your health needs, big and small. Let's push ahead, and we'll make life here as great as it can be. Visit Freighter.com to find out how.
WTMJ, W277CV, and WKTI HD2 Milwaukee from the Annex Wealth Management Studios. This is News Radio WTMJ, a Good Karma brand station. Now that the game is done, it's our time to check in.
Baseline. Oh, he serves up a facial. Driving inside on Keyshawn George. The sledgehammer has...
Bucks Talk starts now.
Oh, the Greek Freak is cooking with Crisco now. Claps his hands together. He has now scored 10 straight for the Bucks.
And now, live from Fiserv Forum, here's Justin Garcia.
Game number 1 in the books for the Bucks. This certainly was an interesting field tonight for this group. Yeah, Khris Middleton making his return to Milwaukee. I do want to spend some time talking about that, and anybody that was here in the arena that wants to chime in on that as well. We'll take your thoughts in what it felt like to be in the arena and the stands and see the reception that Khris Middleton received. There was certainly a big plot to this game, but equally big, too, was just getting to see this new group out there on the floor. You can only really take so much from preseason, so I think we were all very curious to see what was true and what was going to hold from the way we saw this team play differently throughout the course of those 4 preseason games. And I think in terms of the shooting and the shot selection, what you saw in the preseason is what you got tonight. The Bucks took 45% of their field goals from the outside. That is going to be the recipe for success for this team. And whether or not we want to call it Missoula ball or the new wave of the NBA, we have seen more and more of a reliance on three-point shooting, and the Bucks are going to have to lean into that this season without that bona fide second leading scorer. It was a question that Doc Rivers got in his press conference even after today's game of, look, you said it may take some time throughout the course of the season or a couple of games to really see who is going to be the second leading scorer on this team. Do you feel like we got any closer to that? Does the potential injury to Kevin Porter Jr. change things there? And it was something that Doc Rivers himself said, look, we might not even know as the season ends here, that it's one of those things. I think what we do know is you have the best player in the conference. You have a guy that is going to put up the stat lines that Giannis put up once again in the game tonight. 30-plus points, 14 rebounds. Who that second guy is going to be, who the second leading scorer is going to change on a nightly basis for this group. But the one thing I don't expect to change is the fact that the Bucks had 7 double-digit scores tonight. I mean, there's going to be games when that number is larger than 7. And I think most interesting, too, is Cole Anthony, another player we should talk about on tonight's show. Cole Anthony, I thought was good. You know, obviously the foul trouble was a big anchor for that second unit and for Cole Anthony's individual numbers, but you could see what Cole Anthony is going to provide throughout the course of this season. Foul trouble really dictated him not being a double-digit scorer. Bobby Portis, a guy that was consistently a double-digit scorer for this Bucks team, he did not score in double figures tonight, just 2 points from Bobby Portis. So you got 7 double-digit scores. Despite the absence of those two guys doing that, is just shows you how this team is structured much differently now this season versus last season here. So a lot to dig into on tonight's performance. Obviously a big one from Giannis. What we continue to see from him. Let's also keep an eye out on the injury report or any updates. Doc Rivers kind of downplayed it and said shouldn't be any big deal there. That was a really hard fall that Giannis suffered, and you could see him continually shaking off that wrist in the closing minutes of this game. So we'll have to keep an eye on that, but a lot to really break off into with tonight's performance. The return of Khris Middleton, proof of concept with this new Bucks team. What you saw from Miles Turner, unofficially 4 blocked shots. One of those was taken away, but you saw the rim protection. You saw his ability to attack closeouts and mismatches, the shot selection, the three-point shooting that Miles Turner is going to bring to this group as well. And then a couple of key injuries. One specifically that we've already been told by Doc Rivers doesn't sound good. And, of course, the return of Khris Middleton. 855-616-1620 is the number to join us tonight on Bucks Talk. Again, if you were in the building tonight for the return of Khris Middleton, we'd love to hear from you, what it felt like, what your reaction was, and what you heard throughout the stands here tonight. 855-616-1620. The number to join us tonight as the Bucks open up the season with a victory over the Washington Wizards and now head off to Toronto for a very game and lively opponent in the Raptors on Friday. We'll get to your thoughts coming up next on Bucks Talk.
You're listening to Bucks Talk.
Visit family-owned Ken Michaels Furniture and our in-store design centers where you'll still find beautiful, luxurious, heirloom-quality American-made furniture. Right now, save 30 to 35% store-wide and take advantage of our complimentary design services. Whether you're moving, renovating, or updating, our designers will help your vision become a reality. Visit Ken Michaels Furniture in Brookfield on Capitol Drive and in Greenfield on Highway 100 to save 30 to 35% store-wide today. Sleep better and save more with mattresses from Milwaukee Mattress and Ken Michaels Furniture. Handcrafted in our Milwaukee factory, our mattresses utilize natural materials like cotton cushioning, which dissipates body heat, Joma wool quilts for warm wintry nights and cool summer evenings, and natural latex providing superior conformability and pressure relief for aching joints. Stop in today at any Ken Michaels Furniture store and save up to 50% compared to national brands.
You'll get a new heat pump system, a new furnace, and a full home duct cleaning all together as a package at about half price. Half price! That's how it all shakes out. Not a gimmick. And both the furnace and the heat pump system are high-quality units. This is Anthony Zanevsky. All you have to do is purchase a heat pump system from Quality, and you'll get a free furnace and a free duct cleaning. All totaled, the cost would be about $20,000. When you add in the new tax incentives that you'll get back at the end of the year, you're going to end up paying about half. That's about $10,000 for a high-quality furnace, heat pump system, and a full home duct cleaning. It's limited time. And last time we did this, the units went pretty fast. So if your home needs a new furnace upgrade and a heat pump system that can act as a brand new AC system as well as a furnace backup, take advantage while you can and cut your energy bills substantially. Call Quality and get them while they're hot.
Call Quality for the signature service you deserve.
Call Quality. Heating, cooling, plumbing, and electric.
When I shop St. Vincent de Paul thrift stores, every time I come in, it's like a whole new store. It's because new inventory's arriving daily, all kinds of everything. And let me tell you, thrift store prices make buying easy. And helping others at the same time, that's icing on the cake. St. Vincent de Paul thrift stores on Highway 100 in Layton and Greenfield, 23rd in Lincoln, and 76th and Bradley Road in Milwaukee.
Ooh, you're gonna love it, St. Vincent de Paul.
The Roundball Repartee returns. This is Bucks Talk.
$132 to 125 score tonight inside of Fiserv Forum. Bucks beat the Wizards. This was a game you expected to win. It's a Wizards team that's loaded with young talent. You have a couple of roadblocks there that we saw tonight in Khris Middleton and C.J. McCollum. And what I mean by that is they're veterans that you expect to be moved, whether it's a trade or bought out leading up to the trade deadline, but just a ton of young guys. They have 10 former first-round picks on this team. I believe it was 7 players that are 21 or younger that are on this team. Saw Trey Johnson, the rookie from this past draft, come in and knock down some shots. They've got some talent to work with. Michael Winger spent some time with the Oklahoma City Thunder, and they're starting to build this team on the same model that the Thunder did. It's going to take some time, but there's some nice pieces to work with here in Washington. But you may not have known it by looking at the box score. They have some rebounding deficiencies, a lot of defensive deficiencies. They did not shoot the ball well last season, so I think you looked at this game coming into the season and said, this is perfect. To open the season, to get Khris Middleton's return and to be able to really sell it and put some effort into how you're going to welcome Khris Middleton back, what you're going to do to honor him, to open the season and to have as much change and new pieces as the Bucks have on this group and open against a team that you feel like we should be able to get out and run against. We should be able to rebound the ball against. Granted, I don't think you saw that latter part. And we should be able to knock down some shots against. This is one of those games you feel like, let's open the season, let's take care of business, get a win, see what we can build on, and then start to move on to some much, much tougher competition in these next couple of games. Raptors figure to be improved this season. There was a lot of people that pegged the Raptors to finish in front of the Bucks in the standings. That's game number 2. Game number 3 is the Cleveland Cavaliers, who are dealing with some injuries. They lost tonight to open up the season to the New York Knicks, and the Knicks are game number 4. So it picks up, by the way, the Golden State Warriors, game number 5 next week. So had to get this one out of the way, get the win, and now you're going to face much, much tougher competition here in the next 10 days. 855-616-1620 is the number to join us tonight on Bucks Talk. As we said, a lot to get into with this one. The return of Khris Middleton, the performance of Giannis. We got to see Miles Turner in a game that actually matters and counts. And just the way that this team played differently throughout the course of the game. So a lot of things to jump off into and what stood out to you the most. 855-616-1620 is that number to join us tonight on Bucks Talk. Let us head to the phone lines and check in with our friend. It has been some time. We did not have a chance to catch up and get your thoughts on the makeup of this team and really the big changes that took place. I think I have an idea how he feels about it, but I suppose we should let him confirm that himself. Dick in Port Washington leads things off tonight. Dick, how's it going? How was the off season, and what do you think about this team?
Well, you'll never, ever say that Bucks management didn't try to do everything they could to keep Giannis. But, and there's a big but here, I think it's time to move on. I was promised a whole new change to offense, etc. And in the first quarter, I was very optimistic that I saw that. And then after that, it just went back to Giannis ball. What happened to Green shooting more, et cetera, et cetera. They're going to be 1-4, possibly 1-5, over the next several games. Giannis has placed a cloud over this team. I might change my mind in 6 to 7 months. Well, to me already, that's saying he's already changed. I think it's time. Now you're listening. I'm an old fart. I heard in Kareem's day at that time it was Lou Alcindor. You could tell he wasn't happy, and they tried everything they can to keep him. And he said similar things. It's time to cut bait. We've got the same problem with Giannis as when we had Dame. You got two big scorers. Giannis feels he's got to score 30-some points every game. Don't, I mean, he doesn't need to. If you're going to involve the other guys like we did in the first quarter, involve them. The drum beat's going to get louder and louder. It's time to trade him. Get as much as you can now. Do it later before he gets injured. I still think, no matter what we've talked about in years past, he's a candidate for a Achilles tendon injury. And if that happens, and we sign him to the $300 million contract that's going to come up in this coming year, the Bucks will never be the same. And you can call me very negative, but I like the trades they made to get guys. I guess there weren't any trades, but the guys who got in. Getting the guy from Indiana was brilliant. But if Giannis is on the floor, it's all going to go through Giannis. What happened in the first quarter, I was really positive. After that, it was the Giannis show.
That's certainly a take and some strong words there, Dick. I guess I would say, I think they do need Giannis to score nearly 30 points a game. When you look at the rest of the makeup of this group, I think they have more than enough in terms of good players, two-way players. They can play more traditional basketball. But, we kind of mentioned you had 7 double-digit scores in this game. I do think that's going to be a trend throughout the season. You're going to have more than 7 on some nights. I think they're probably going to have maybe even 8 guys that average double figures throughout the course of the season. But none of those guys are all-stars. They're all second at best, third best place.
If they're all-stars
but Dick, to your point, so take Giannis off this team. What does that do to your offense then?
Okay. Now, you take him off the team, but you're going to get players back. Okay, you just can't say take him off the team. You're going to get something for him.
What player are you going to get back that is instantly the best player on the team and the Giannis-type player? That's what look, you don't need 3 superstars anymore. You need a clear-cut best player. You need somebody that's the guy. That's the guy that things run through in the end. That's the guy that takes the final shot. You're not getting that guy in a trade.
Okay. Who for Indiana last year was the leading scorer?
Who was the leading scorer, or who was that guy?
For Indiana. Who was the guy for Indiana? No. You just said you need a guy to be the leading scorer.
I didn't say you need a guy to be the leading scorer.
The prick from Oshkosh. Yeah. Okay.
It was. Well, but that's the guy. That's the guy that it went through at the end.
Okay. It went through Giannis in the first quarter, and then it faded. The same stuff's going to happen. I'm sorry. I'm tired of this. Giannis is going to say, Giannis, go. Get rid of him.
Look, you've seen more Bucks basketball than I have. I am never going to advocate for getting rid of Giannis. I am never going to advocate for getting rid of Giannis because of what things were like before Giannis. I mean, you can even remember that. And I know the game has changed.
Absolutely.
I know the CBA has made things differently, but still, it's not easy to find that guy. The other part of it is, I mean, look, did the offense drift back to isolation, or at least more isolation and not quite as much ball movement as the game progressed? Yes, I will grant you that. I think Doc Rivers even made the point of first quarter was perfect. We started to lose hold of the rope after that. But we're not mentioning one thing that really changed that. There's one guy that didn't play after the first quarter when the ball was moving around and you were able to attack on all fronts. Like, they didn't have their point guard for the final 3 quarters of this game. That's going to change a lot of that offensive flow. And, you know, we don't know when they're going to have him again. It didn't look like it was a serious ankle injury. We didn't think that when we saw it. I didn't even know it was an ankle injury. I thought it was a shot to the face that he took. But hearing Doc Rivers after the game kind of puts a different spin there, where if you read between the lines, it sounds like Kevin Porter Jr. is certainly missing time.
Oh, absolutely. Because if the trainers are good enough, I think, to a soft tissue injury. The fear here is that you get the MRI not because of the soft tissue injury, but because of a bone injury.
Yeah,
that's what you're trying to rule out, and that is damn scary. But you know, we do have other guys. They picked up enough other guards that maybe not as good as Porter, but you know, even with that, you know, what that's going to make Giannis more intense on isolation and doing it all. It's going to be one with 4 guys standing around. I'm sick of seeing that. Last year was 2 guys and 3 guys standing around. So I don't know. I think we should all learn. As much as I hate Indiana and the schmuck from Oshkosh, Indiana led the way as to what should happen. Sorry.
Well, all right. So let's say they beat the Cavs and Knicks, and all of a sudden they're.
Let's say I win the lottery.
I mean, we're not talking.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, we're not talking about the Thunder, though, Dick. We're talking about a Cavs team that lost tonight. They have some injuries in the backcourt. This is a Bucks team that I don't think they match up poorly with the Knicks anymore, the way that they have shifted their style. And to bring in Miles Turner and what he's able to do, to have point-of-attack defenders, or at least better ones, than they had a season ago to combat a guy like Jalen Brunson. You're not going to shut down Jalen Brunson, but I think you're in a much better position to defend him. I don't think it's crazy to say they split that and could possibly even win both. Let's say they do that. Let's say after 10 games this team is 8-2. Are you still saying the same thing?
I'd be happy as hell. No way in hell. No way in hell. So here's the bottom line as far as what I'm believing now, is that we're going to have to watch them on TV and see what happens. The last thing we need is Toronto all pumped up because of the baseball playoffs. They moved the game up. It's going to be tough to win that game. And then you got some real tough games. And then you got Golden State coming in at home. It's going to be tough. It's the way the draw is. I hope I'm wrong, and I really don't want to be honest either. Don't get me wrong, but
well, you just said you did.
Well, I know I did. But okay. There's my heart and there's my brain. My brain, after going through the Lou Alcindor thing, I didn't want that to happen either. But in the long run, we had some great years there. But then we also had some very lean years after that, you know. I don't know. I was disappointed in tonight's game, and I was disappointed in the way Giannis dealt with this. Come out, you know, don't say anything like, okay, if 6 or 7 months, I would never hold the guy and say, you know, I'm here now, I'm not leaving. And then he changes his mind in 6 or 7 months. I would never have a problem with that. By putting out there that saying, well, if I change my mind in 6 or 7 months, I'm human. Okay, what does that say? I might change my mind in 6 or 7 months. I want someone that comes in and says, I'm dedicated, I'm staying. All these guys are playing with so much pressure. And you watch, I don't even watch this NBA crap on 2 o'clock on ESPN because that's all they want to talk about. And Stephen Smith is a jerk and everything. But I'm there's a part of me wondering if the NBA doesn't want Giannis out of Milwaukee either. Sorry.
Well, a lot that we touched on there, Dick. It's always good to hear from you. It was too long of a break to catch up with you.
I bet it is. At least I put some thoughts out there.
Well, and look, we'll see if you feel differently about things next week. Very early in the week, you got the Sunday afternoon game against the Cavs and then a Tuesday night game against the New York Knicks. So we'll see where things are at next week.
Okay, and I promise you, if I am totally wrong, I will call in and you can beat the crap out of me.
All right, I will hold you to that. Dick in Port Washington.
There you go. Thanks a lot. I'm glad you're back.
Good to hear from you, Dick. 855-616-1620, the number to join us tonight. A few more calls trickling in that we will get to. Again, if you're in the building tonight, what it felt like. Khris Middleton, look, I know I have always been a Khris Middleton stan. I know not as many of you have always been there at the same level throughout the course of the years. Brooke Lopez, I certainly have been accused of doing the same, and I'll even own up to that. But you could tell this was special. The words that Doc Rivers had leading into this and in the pressure that he put on the organization too, of like, this has to be a really good tribute video for Khris Middleton, the embrace that he had from, I would say, his teammates, but it's really just Giannis Thanasis and Bobby Portis that are left that had that long-standing history and relationship and being teammates with Khris Middleton. But the way he was received by this organization, by the fan base that was here inside the arena as well. So if you were here, your experience with that, we'll take your thoughts there coming up after this. 132-120, final score tonight. Bucks open up the regular season with a win, 133-120, short of them a point there. 37 from Giannis. Regardless of what Dick just said, I didn't think this was Giannis forcing things. 37 points, 14 rebounds, and a solid debut for Miles Turner as the Bucks beat a team they should beat, and now move on to a little meatier part of the schedule. 855-616-1620, the number to join us. More after this on Bucks Talk.
The Hardwood Homilies continue after this. This is Bucks Talk.
When you want the best medical attention, you don't just go to anybody, you go to a specialist. The same should be true with your car or truck. I'm Deb Cruz, president of the Auto Dealers Association of Mega Milwaukee. When your vehicle needs service, take it to a specialist, an Adam member new car dealer. Adam dealers use factory warranty parts, the latest diagnostic equipment, and certified manufacturer technicians specially trained on the advanced technology on your vehicle. They have all the latest manufacturer's service bulletins and will know if your issue is covered by an existing warranty or if there are any recalls. And despite what you might assume, their prices are as low or even lower than the independent shops, even on routine maintenance and tires. Now, knowing all that, why would you even consider going anywhere other than an Adam member dealer?
For great paying job opportunities, visit adam.com. That's ADAMM.com.
For over a century, local radio has evolved with the needs of the community. From politics to pop culture, we keep you informed, bringing you the most relevant news, online, on air, and on the go. You have trusted us with your news, sports, weather, and entertainment. Trust us to keep moving with you. Text radio to 52886 and tell Congress local broadcasting is here to stay.
Get 2 mattresses for the price of 1.
Whoa, what are you doing?
We don't do sales at Penny Mustard.
I know.
So how can we offer 2 mattresses for the price of 1?
Because with a flippable, 2-sided foam or coil mattress from Penny Mustard, it's like having 2 mattresses for the price of 1.
You'll give each side more time to breathe.
And your mattress will last twice as long.
See? 2 for 1.
2-sided mattresses, available every day at Penny Mustard Furnishings.
Showrooms in Milwaukee and Chicago.
PennyMustard.com.
Save big money on interior stains now at Menards. paints. Provide exceptional color to your staining project with Minwax Color Series. It's perfect for completing your projects faster while offering rich color. Get a quart of Minwax Color Series wood stain on sale now through October 26th. Save big money on Minwax wood stains. Plus, check out our weekly flyer on Menards.com for all the great deals happening now.
Save big money at Menards.
This is Bucks Talk.
$133 to 120 final score tonight inside a Fiserv Forum. Bucks tip off the season with a win, a successful debut for Miles Turner. He had 4 block shots, and he frankly had more than that, it felt like, but just 3 officially in the score sheet. But Miles Turner, successful debut. I think you saw some of the leadership qualities that he brings, some of the areas, too, where that ball movement and the structured offense, more movement in general off the ball, with the ball. Miles Turner, we saw that stand out throughout the course of the preseason, and it was really evident in the first quarter as well, when, again, the Bucks had Kevin Porter Jr. That is an injury we need to monitor. We're just going off of what Doc Rivers said after the game, in case you're just joining us and missed it. Kevin Porter Jr. was fantastic to start the game. 2 of 3 on his three-pointers, 3 of 5 from the field, scored 10 points in 9 minutes, 2 assists, 0 turnovers. Very solid defense as well. He was a game-high plus 15 at the moment that the injury occurred. He stepped on Bobby Portis's foot, rolled his ankle. I believe it was the left ankle. Didn't appear to be a bad ankle sprain. But as we heard from Doc Rivers after the game, the opposite, apparently. As Doc said, it was not a good sprain, and it seems like it could be pretty bad here. So, reading between the lines, it seems like we're going to see Kevin Porter Jr. on the shelf to start the season here for the Bucks. And how that changes things, it means a lot more Ryan Rollins and Cole Anthony. Cole Anthony gave you some scoring punch when he was on the floor. Foul trouble was the issue there. He picked up 4 fouls in 4 minutes, finished the game with 5 fouls and 9 points, but still a positive player in his minutes on the floor. And with Ryan Rollins, I thought same story. You could certainly see it defensively, and didn't have an efficient night offensively, but overall I thought Ryan Rollins was good. But it seems like you're going to need a lot more from those two going forward here. 855-616-1620 is the number to join us tonight on Bucks Talk. Let's head back to the phone lines and talk with Milt in Portage. You're on the phone next.
Yeah, hey, thanks for taking my call. Yeah, I was at the game tonight, and I'm just kind of working my way back. Kind of one of the things that kind of stuck out to me as a Buck fan is kind of this probably the first year Khris Middleton's kind of started the season healthy, and I thought he looked good, and I thought, I thought the tribute was nice, and I don't know if he, gets enough credit. I definitely do as a guy who, I don't want to pick on Dick. That's all so negative on Giannis, but Khris Middleton, in that Atlanta series, and in a couple of the games in the finals, pretty much carried us. So it was great to see what he did tonight. I've always thought he was a great catch and shoot player, but when he starts messing around trying to pass, sometimes it got out of hand. But I thought he had a great game.
He was fantastic, and look, to your point, I know it was partially in jest, but there's a lot of truth to it too. That you think back the last few years, it's probably since 2018, I believe, that there was like nothing lingering or no work done in the offseason for Khris Middleton. So, yeah, to see him fully healthy and good to go, he was very good tonight. And I don't think he's going to.
I thought he looked good. I was just like, okay, with his age and everything, and good for him. It was like, I was happy for him. I was thinking he'd be like broken down, and
that was.
I wasn't even sure he was going to start.
I think that's where a lot of fans probably were, in that what you got was what you wanted. Khris Middleton looked good, and the Bucks won. And it felt like the Bucks were going to win convincingly. I mean, they still won by double figures, but going off the first quarter and first half of the second quarter, it felt like, all right, Bucks are going to blow them out. Khris looks good. Fine. I can live with it. I don't think he's going to finish the season in Washington. I think there's clearly still something there in terms of a half-court offensive player that would be useful to a contending team. I mean, look, for everybody that wants him back in Milwaukee, it could technically happen. I don't see it happening via trade. It would have to be a buyout, and that wouldn't be able to happen until right around the time the buyout market heats up. So it's a 365-day rule that if you trade a player, you can't sign him after he's bought out for a full year. So the Bucks could sign him February 7th if he's bought out. And looking at the structure of this team, I think Khris Middleton would fit with this current iteration of the Bucks because you would surround him with capable defensive players, and you're not asking Khris to take on a really heavy workload and be that guy defensively. I thought the tribute video was solid. I'm very glad they ended it with the cut of Giannis and they bleeped out the F word. But Giannis, after Game 6, saying, "Khris, we did it." And, just seeing the reaction that he got from the crowd, seeing the video the Bucks put together, too, when the Wizards arrived at the arena earlier today, there was a whole team here of Bucks employees and staff that were ready and greeting Khris Middleton and filmed that, welcoming him back to Milwaukee. Khris himself talking about it the past couple of days with Jim Ozarski, got a chance to interview him. Eric Name of The Athletic interviewed him. Of course, he was on the Thanalysis show as well. And really talking about his level of emotions and that it is going to be emotional for me. And I hope I don't get too emotional when I see the tribute video. Mentioning that my kids are at the age now where they've finally kind of grasped I no longer play for the Milwaukee Bucks. I mean, you mentioned the Hawks series, not to keep going down this road, but I've talked about it before, and the Bucks don't win the championship in 2021 without Khris Middleton. It was obviously a team effort, and you can point to a number of guys that stepped up and played key roles along the way. But, we do need to remind ourselves, Game 1 against the Miami Heat in the first round of that playoff series, the same Heat team that bounced you in the second round, really in embarrassing fashion in 5 games the previous fall in the bubble. There was a lot of Bucks fans that didn't want that series with the Miami Heat because of that and because, this isn't a good matchup. I don't want to face Miami again in the first round. And it was a Bucks team that was confident, that set themselves up the final weekend of the regular season to face the Miami Heat. They got the Heat. They ended up sweeping the Heat in convincing fashion in a series that I think we all look back and remember, oh, yeah, that was the series where Bryn Forbes outscored Jimmy Butler, and some really key defensive moments from Drew Holiday shutting down Tyler Hero in that series. Everything went the Bucks' way the final 3 games of that series. What we forget is the first game of that series was very tight, very close, went down to the final possession. And the Bucks won on a game-winning Khris Middleton jump shot. I'm looking at the spot on the floor right now where Khris Middleton hit that shot. And I pointed out because who knows where that series goes if you lose Game 1. And if it's, it's a Heat team that has the Bucks number, that knows how to beat the Bucks. If you lose Game 1 at home, who knows where it goes from there. You didn't lose Game 1 because Khris Middleton hit that game-winning shot. The very next series against the Brooklyn Nets, everybody left the Bucks for dead. After 2 games, you're down 0-2. You lost the second game by, I think it was 49 or 48 points. You were down by 50 at one point in that game. It felt like this is a sweep. And you win Game 3. You're still a little on the edge. You win Game 4 in a rock fight where Drew Holiday has the game-winning layup. And you put yourself in a position to win that series. Khris Middleton hits the go-ahead shot in overtime that propels the Bucks to victory. The first time they had ever won a Game 7 on the road in their playoff franchise history. It's Khris Middleton that hits what served as the game-winning shot in overtime, trading baskets with the likes of James Harden and Kevin Durant down the stretch. The Hawks series, you already mentioned it. Giannis goes down. Khris Middleton had 2 really big games to help close out that series. A 40-point game in the conference finals, a 40-point game in the NBA finals, including a 20-point quarter from Khris Middleton. He was the guy during that run. Giannis was the best player in the world on the floor. Khris Middleton hit the biggest shots of that playoff run. And that was, kind of par for the course for Khris Middleton. We can all think back to some playoff moments, right? That near half-court heave that he hit against the Boston Celtics way back when in the pre-Bud era that forced overtime. A couple other big shots in that series against the Toronto Raptors. What he did on one leg, basically, against the Indiana Pacers 2 years ago. Khris Middleton had a knack for showing up in big moments, and including the biggest ones in 2021. He is, at this very moment, in my opinion, the third best player in the history of this franchise. And he's one of the few guys that won a championship with this group. He made a lasting impact on the court and off the court. He got his flowers today, and rightfully so. It would be very special to see him back here in Milwaukee. Nobody is denying that as a Buck to close out his career. But I thought it was just top-notch, the way all of it was handled, and Khris was welcomed back. You could hear from both sides. There were no hard feelings there. It was a part of the business. Khris understands it. Even opening up and sharing his vulnerabilities, too, about, look, when I found out about the trade, I didn't know what to do. And I rented a car and I just drove for 3 hours. No music, no podcasts, just my thoughts. He's in a different spot now. It's a tough spot, right? It's a Wizards team that's not expected to contend. But I think Khris Middleton is going to end up on a contender before the end of the season. And it would be nice. It would be special if it were here in Milwaukee to close things out. 855-616-1620, the number to join us tonight on Bucks Talk. Season opener here. The Bucks pick up a win to tip off this season. We saw a solid debut from Miles Turner. Big game from Giannis. The return of Khris Middleton, but the injury to Kevin Porter Jr. hanging over the team right now, so we'll wait to see if there's any further updates coming on that. Let's grab one more call here before we squeeze in another break. Mike in Racine, you're up next.
Thank you, Justin, for taking my call. First off, great points about Khris Middleton. I just came home from the game, but I want to refute Dick, our first caller. I'm as old as him because I remember when the PA announcer would say, "Basket by El Salvador." It's between Kareem and Giannis, two different situations. Kareem, 6 years, he had to go. He wanted to go. Here, Giannis, here's the question for Dick. How many championships have the Bucks won after that trade with Kareem? None. Great teams, but none. So, I mean, and took Giannis to win it. He wants to be here. Let him be here as long as he wants. I like the look of the team. And the crowd was great for Khris Middleton. I couldn't be more proud. Thank you, sir, for taking my call.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Mike. You could feel it, too. You knew it was going to be like this. You could kind of sense it building. And I think we were all anticipating the first time out to see that video that was put together for Khris Middleton. Ironically enough, it came during a bad stretch for the Wizards where Brian Keefe had just called a timeout and spent the entire duration of that timeout with a clipboard with Khris Middleton in the huddle as well, going through some game plan. So Khris didn't even really get a chance to take in and acknowledge the video and watch it, but you also wonder if that was maybe a good thing, as he joked, yesterday, that, yeah, I hope it's not too bad, and I hope these guys don't see me crying here on the floor. So one way to avoid it was not to watch it at all. 855-616-1620. The number to join us tonight is the Bucks tip off the season with a victory inside of Fiserv Forum. Big game from Giannis, solid debut from Miles Turner. We'll see if there's any updates, though, on Kevin Porter Jr. leaving this game in the first quarter with an ankle injury. What Doc Rivers had to say about that and the schedule ahead for the Bucks. We'll get to those two things and more thoughts from you coming up next.
This is Bucks Talk.
Every time I turn around, my friends at Pure Talk give me one more reason to feel good about switching. This month, for instance, they're supporting Canines for Warriors, a terrific organization that trains rescue dogs and then pairs them up with combat veterans struggling with PTSD. The result? They're saving lives on both ends of the leash. This is why I switched to Pure Talk. I like being in business with an American wireless company who shares my values. Yeah, I appreciate unlimited talk, text, and plenty of 5G data for just $25 a month, and I bet you will too. But I think you'll really appreciate doing business with a company who gives back to the men and women who volunteered to defend our country. Just dial pound 250, say micro. With Pure Talk's U.S. customer service team, you can switch in as little as 10 minutes. Again, dial pound 250, say micro. to switch to an American wireless company who actually stands for something. Pure Talk.
Without an Advent clinic nearby, people suffering needlessly from chronic nasal congestion and sinus infections would be stuck with either Band-Aid or Sledgehammer solutions. Band-Aids are pills or nasal sprays, and they're not true solutions. Surgery is a sledgehammer, and that's what we're trying to avoid. Because most people don't need surgery for nose and sinus issues, nor do they want a 14-day recovery. Our unique Advent approach can, in 20 minutes in our office, open your blocked nose for good, with only 1-day recovery. I'm Advent founder Dr. Kandula. Outside of Advent's four walls, invasive surgery is what they'll recommend. But here you will find effective and convenient in-office solutions to help you stop the need for Band-Aids and avoid the sledgehammer.
Go to adventknows.com to schedule your appointment, because Advent knows when you breathe well, you live better. Most insurance accepted.
Your neighbors are talking. Did you see their siding? Yikes. That drafty window? It's basically air conditioning. From nature. Don't be the scary house on the block this fall. Call Exterior Pros and Baths and get $3,000 off your roofing, siding, windows, or bath project. No tricks, just treats. That's 262-800-4274 or click your way to extpros.com. Fall in love with your home again. Trust the pros.
Welcome back to Bucks Talk.
$13-point win for the Bucks to begin the season here. 37 from Giannis. All 5 starters scored in double figures. 7 scores in double figures total for this team, including Miles Turner, 11 points, 8 rebounds, 3 blocked shots, 17 from Gary Trent Jr. So tonight, Gary Trent was your second leading scorer. That's still an unanswered question of who is that going to be consistently throughout the season. And 47 points from your bench. 12 from Kyle Kuzma. He was one of those 7 double-digit scorers. And look, it's not the best barometer for success, but in the plus-minus category, Kyle Kuzma was a +7. 11 points from Taurean Prince. Those 2 guys were your double-digit scorers off the bench. Not Bobby Portis, not Ryan Rollins, not Cole Anthony, not Amir Coffey. It was Kuzma and Taurean Prince. I think you're consistently going to see 7 to 8 double-digit scores on this team nightly. Will the second leading scorer be different from night to night? Very likely so. I think Gary Trent Jr. is going to be that guy the majority of the season. I thought coming into the season, Kevin Porter Jr. had a chance to be that guy majority of the season as well. He was not tonight, though he was on pace to do so. 10 points in 9 minutes, but left the game in the first quarter with an ankle injury. And after the game, Doc Rivers didn't make it sound like it was the best ankle injury. So we'll get back to some of what Doc Rivers had to say. But let's grab one more call here before we do that. Bob in Menasha, you're up next.
Yeah, Justin, it's good to hear your voice again. Thanks for being back on the air. I think living in the past like that one guy a couple callers ago, Middleton wasn't very good years ago, but it is what it is. I think to bring him back as a Buck would be ridiculous. Yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting year. I think Doc and his coaching staff are going to have the work cut out to get that offense going the way they want it to go. And I sort of think that Bobby Portis might still be a small, intricate part of the way things develop, with his hustle and desire. I'm not counting him out yet. Are you?
No, I think, and thanks for the call, Dick. Good to hear from you again, or Bob, sorry. Dick on the mind with our first call and his very strong thoughts earlier tonight. But good to hear from you again, Bob. No, I'm not counting him out. I think Bobby Portis, I think the way that bench is structured is similar to what we said about the starting lineup, where guys that are going to carry the load offensively is you're going to have some consistencies, but really the big scores are going to change from night to night. Wasn't a good night statistically tonight from Bobby Portis, but that doesn't mean it's going to be consistently the case throughout the course of the season here. Only 17 minutes, too, from Bobby. And that was the other interesting thing was some of the way we saw the bench used, where you went very heavy into on-off numbers for Giannis, where he played the first, 7 minutes of the game and then went 6 or 7 minutes without playing before coming back. We saw the same structure in the second half as well, and that's one of the other unique things about the way the team is structured this year is there is no staggering, right? There's no Khris Middleton. There's no Damian Lillard where you would say, okay, we can keep 2 of those guys on the floor. Brooke Lopez, too. We can keep 2 of those guys on the floor at all times. Can't do that anymore. It's just Giannis, and I suppose if you want to lump in Miles Turner, there's no stagger there. So I think that's going to be evolving, too, in what we see of minutes played in the first quarter. And remember last year it was Dame likes to play the entire duration of the first and third quarters, and then we give him a little bit of a blow in the first couple of minutes of the second and fourth. How much that evolves throughout the course of the season. But I think the big thing on the negative side, the big damper from tonight, was what we saw from Kevin Porter Jr., not statistically, but the injury. So what Doc Rivers had to say about that, what we can gather if we read between the lines and what it means for the next couple of games coming up for the Bucks, because it starts to change. You started with a bit of a soft opponent, all due respect to the Wizards. That's not going to be the case for the next week. So we'll get into the schedule and the injury to Kevin Porter Jr. as we wrap things up next on Bucks Talk.
You're listening to Bucks Talk.
Marty's Pizza in Delafield has expanded its delivery zone. Yep, we're sending our heated oven delivery trucks out farther than ever and expanding our footprint. Check out martyspizza.net to find out if you're covered, and we'll send out one of our fleet ASAP to get you great pizza, subs, salads, or our Italian entrees. And for parties of 50 or more, heck, we'll deliver almost anywhere. Just give us a call, and we'll see how we can make it happen for your large group gathering.
Do you remember when times were good? Well, they're good again. It's as good today as it was in the past. It doesn't get any better than that. Remember Marty's Pizza.
If you've ever worried about your heart, if you've ever loved someone with heart disease, if you've ever wondered if you're the one at risk, let's remind ourselves that we are not powerless. Because at the Froedtert and the Medical College of Wisconsin Health Network, we're pushing to outsmart heart and vascular disease by working with you personally to understand your history, assess your risks, and guide you to heart strength. By digging deep with tireless research and offering access to leading-edge clinical trials. And for the most serious conditions, including heart failure, heart valve disease, arrhythmias, and vascular diseases, we provide renowned expertise and the most advanced life-saving procedures you expect from academic medicine. So let's get out in front of heart disease. Let's outsmart it. Let's keep pushing so that every one of us can outrun it and embrace every beautiful day life in Wisconsin has to offer. To learn more about our nationally renowned heart and vascular care, visit froedtert.com/heart.
Get started with your no-hassle refi checkup by clicking on the blue button at accunet.com.
Heart disease won't stop us. Diabetes, allergies, cancer. Nothing will keep the Froedtert and the Medical College of Wisconsin Health Network from pushing Wisconsin ahead. We're constantly raising the bar for medical excellence and providing more ways to receive it, so you have it for all your health needs, big and small. Let's push ahead, and we'll make life here as great as it can be. Visit Froedtert.com to find out how.
WTMJ, W277CV, and WKTI HD2 Milwaukee. From the Annex Wealth Management Studios, this is News Radio WTMJ, a Good Karma brand station. The Roundball Repartee returns. This is Bucks Talk.
Word on Kevin's ankle?
No, it didn't look good. I'll just say that, so he's going to do an MRI tomorrow. We just got to hope for the best, but looking at it, it was a pretty bad sprain.
So that's Doc Rivers talking about Kevin Porter Jr., who left the game in the first quarter with an ankle sprain. He stepped on Bobby Portis' foot on a defensive play. Doc says there didn't look good. We were talking as we wrapped up the game broadcast, both Dave, Kane, and myself, but it didn't look too bad. So it just goes to show you what we know. I don't take that as a good sign for Kevin Porter. Not that it's season ending or anything along those lines, but, ankle injuries are tricky, and it depends on the severity and what level, what grade of a sprain it is. But, I mean, when you start to hear MRI and looking at any bone bruises there, it certainly feels like it is weeks and maybe not days or games for Kevin Porter Jr. So we hope that's not the case, but I do think we need to kind of prepare ourselves for that reality and what it means for this Bucks team who, you know, I think you certainly have two capable guys to fill in for you in Cole Anthony. I am obviously, if you listen to the shows last year or anything throughout the offseason, remain incredibly high on Ryan Rollins. You know, I think John Horst gave a pretty solid comp for Ryan Rollins. You would obviously like to see a little growth beyond it. But mentioning, you know, the guy that he reminds me of most is a guy that spent some time here in Milwaukee, and that's George Hill, who had pretty good length and wingspan. Ryan Rollins, I've talked about it a number of times, has a 7-foot wingspan. Very solid defensively. I think Ryan Rollins is already the best point of attack defender that the Bucks have, and he takes on those assignments. Right. Ryan Rollins routinely, I would assume, as the season progresses, is going to be the guy that you're throwing out there on those guys, the toughest perimeter matchups that the Bucks are facing. He is more of a combo guard than a point guard. I do think he fits very nicely with the starting lineup. So it's going to be curious, or interesting, I suppose I should say, to say, let's assume Kevin Porter Jr. is going to miss some time. Who is the starting point guard on this team? Do you start Cole Anthony, who is a natural point guard, or more of a natural point guard than Ryan Rollins? Do you start Ryan Rollins? I think Ryan Rollins fits nicely with the starting lineup because of that defensive ability, and he's a really good off-ball player. He's a good catch-and-shoot guy. I think he pairs very nicely with Giannis. But you would love to have him as your third guy, or Cole Anthony as your third guy, and figure out how do we get minutes for all three of these guys versus, well, one of them is down. Now it's on all of you guys. Because we saw tonight, Cole Anthony doesn't have the size that Kevin Porter Jr. has, that Ryan Rollins has. He is an aggressive defender. We've seen some highlight reel defensive plays from Cole Anthony because of his size, though. We've seen in the playoffs teams will pick on him and go at him defensively. And tonight you saw 4 very quick fouls. 4 fouls in 4 minutes. Finished the game with 5 fouls tonight. If you're down to Cole Anthony and Ryan Rollins for an extended period of time, you can't see that. So, you know, I'm not going to say that Kevin Porter Jr. was the player they could least afford to lose to an injury. But it changes things. And to go all the way back to, you know, what we heard from Dick to start the show, yeah, it did bog down a little bit offensively. I wouldn't say it totally bogged down. Granted, the Wizards are not a good defense. They weren't last year, at least. We'll see if they've made any improvement this year. They weren't good defensively last season. You still scored 133 points. Something was still working, right? You scored 40 points in the opening quarter. A large part of that was 7 of 10 on three-point shooting. Cooled off after that. They were still taking threes. And for the most part, those were all good looks that just didn't fall. They were moving the ball and working for those. You did have pockets of the game where there weren't as many passes or no passes at all. And I think that's what Doc Rivers was saying. We started going down the path and then it veered off. That's what he's talking about. And that you need to reduce significantly and eliminate. But you know, we do have to point out those moments occurred after your point guard left the game. So how differently do things look offensively if Kevin Porter Jr. plays the full game? We don't know. I think it looks better on both ends of the floor, for that matter. But now we just wait and see how much time Kevin Porter Jr. is going to miss, if Kevin Porter Jr. is going to miss time, although what we just heard from Doc Rivers coming back from the break doesn't make it sound promising. So how long, if he is in fact out, is Kevin Porter Jr. going to be on the shelf? And what does that mean for the Bucks that all of a sudden they have a schedule that picks up? Again, you saw the Wizards to open things up, and you think, well, Wizards, the Raptors didn't make the playoffs last year. You got them a couple of times early. The Pacers figured to be a down team. They're on there in early November. Couple of games with the Charlotte Hornets. Like, this should be a pretty easy start to the season for the Bucks, or easier. Shouldn't be another 2-8 start for this team. Raptors might be good this year. They're hoping to be good. They still have largely the same group that was around last year. We'll see. They won tonight. The Cleveland Cavaliers in Cleveland Sunday nights. The Knicks here in Milwaukee 6 days away, Tuesday night. Then the Warriors come to Milwaukee next Thursday. So you got a handful of games that are going to be pretty difficult here in the immediacy of this schedule. So we'll see. But I don't think this version of the Cavs, with some of the injuries that they're dealing with, you shouldn't view this as, well, look at the record against the Cavs and Knicks last season. It's a different team in the form of the Bucks. It's a different Knicks team with a different coach. It's a different Cavs team with the personnel that we said, some of which is gone, some of which is injured. So some very nice early tests for this Bucks team. First of those is going to be Friday afternoon, evening, however you want to view it. But make note of that tip time. It has been bumped up an hour. 5:30 Central Time is when that game is going to tip in Toronto. 5 o'clock is when the pregame coverage begins for game number 2. First game on the road for the Bucks and the Raptors. And then you got Toronto again a week later on the road again, November 4th. In Toronto. So Bucks and the Raptors Friday, 5:30. 5 o'clock is when our pregame broadcast begins. And as always, be sure to stick around after the game for Bucks Talk. We will talk with everybody Friday nights after the Bucks and the Raptors.
Amish outdoor furniture with poly and wood available. And that poly is the richest of outdoor furniture. It's just about indestructible and will virtually last forever. At Erickson's, we have poly furniture in abundance, so you're guaranteed to see a great selection. The beauty of it is you can put it outside all year round and not worry about it, because the color runs all the way through.